your particular situated circumstances so that we are able to sustain regulatory audit, for example, FDA or European Medicines Agency, EMA audit. What is good for you could be best for another firm and vice versa under our situated circumstances. But what we are trying to cover, what we believe we are able to sustain any inspectional purposes, and I like to share what I have learned over the years. This is general disclaimer for your own review when you get a chance, but I like to point out one big thing, that the entire content of this presentation are not intended to be all-inclusive. So today we are going to cover various areas, starting with applicable statutes and regulations, some definitions, some regulatory requirements for IND, IDE, clinical trials, clinical investigators, IRB sponsor monitors, and ICH GCP guideline, ISO 13155 standard, and some of the SOPs for your own review to improve our awareness and adequate documentation, some key requirements in the SOP and some deficiencies. During FDA inspection, what are they going to collect, some of the documentation? So we are going to cover. Please note that the number of slides is more than what we can cover. However, about 15 or 20 slides are included with the intent to share with you for your own awareness purposes, because those slides speaks itself and it does not require any comment. So starting with the statute, well, we are talking about Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938. We commonly call it as FFDCA, OFDCA, or the Act. Well, over the years, there have been various amendments made to the FDNC Act many times. And this particular statute has been implemented under Title 21 Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, Food and Drugs. And then I like to talk about Investigations Operation Manual, IOM. That's what the investigators, FDA investigators, are trained for, talking about how they perform inspections. And also I'd like to introduce Compliance Program Guidance Manual. It's called CPGM. This is very important for industry for us to get familiar with, because this is the manual for FDA investigators to get trained for to access our compliance to the regulatory requirements per se, and therefore CPGM provide how exactly the FDA investigators perform their assessment for our compliance to the applicable requirements. Just to briefly introduce Compliance Program Guidance Manual, especially applicable for bio-research monitoring, BIMO, because GCP is part of BIMO monitoring. Just to give you what kind of compliance programs are available so that we can familiar with the applicable regulations. For example, when we are talking about in vivo bioequivalence or good laboratory practice, institutional review board, and then sponsors, contract research organizations, and monitors, and then clinical investigators. Here are the applicable regulations, and there are also CPGM guide available, and we are going to talk about in the next slide. So if you are preparing for GLP inspection, or if you are trying to make sure that our IRB is ready for inspection, or if you are trying to make sure as a sponsor or as a contract research organization or as a monitor trying to get ready for FDA inspections, I like to particularly recommend you please have a chance to look at CPGM guidance manual that I listed here with hypertext link here and PDF link here. This is the CPGM guide that provide how exactly FDA inspectors will assess your compliance to the requirements so that we know what we need to look at. Now, just to, for the purpose of improving our awareness in an actionable manner, I'd like to share FDA inspection data. For example, this is for CEDO starting from fiscal year 2004 through 2013. And as you can see, here is a lot of inspection. You can see the number of inspections briefly. For example, clinical investigators, a lot of clinical investigator inspections, sponsor inspection, bioequivalence, and IRB inspection in side by side in colors. So you can see in comparison with the following. Well, FDA performed both domestic, U.S. and foreign inspections. Again, this is for CEDO. The reason that I'm sharing CEDO data is because majority of inspections are from CEDO and then CDLH and then CBO. So just to give you, for our improving